Greetings, YouTube. There was a time in my life where I was a fan of Bette Midler, and that has been negatively impacted as of late. Bette Midler has fired back on the use of transgender inclusive language in conversation about abortion, claiming cisgender women are being erased. Um, Interesting that they're using that particular language now, isn't it? Midler's comments were met with backlash and disappointment from transgender people and LGBTQ plus advocates who reminded her that people who do not identify as women require access to reproductive health care too. Yes, when I'm discussing these topics, I tend to talk about people who have uteruses. That may sound a little clinical, but it at least covers the entire spectrum of folks that have uteruses, because not all of them are going to identify as women. Some are going to be non-conforming, gender neutral, gender fluid. Some of them are going to be in trans men. So it needs to encompass a bunch of people, not just the somewhat archaic terms when we refer to everybody as just men and women, because we were wrong then and we're wrong now. Those are not inclusive enough. And that's the problem. A lot of these TERFs see the inclusive language as erasing the use of those terms means that we're trying to erase the people that used to be considered to always exist in those categories. Now, by changing the category, saying women, men, there's a spectrum between those two ends, that somehow that erases the people that exist on the ends. And it doesn't. There's a nice little quote in here. Where was it? No one is trying to erase women with inclusive language about people who need abortion care. No one is calling you anything but what you prefer. You should extend the courtesy in return. I'm never going to refer to Bette Midler as anything other than a woman. Why? Because Bette Midler refers to herself as a woman. If Bette Midler were to come out of the gate and tell me that she prefers to be called a he, I would switch immediately. Why? Because it's courtesy. Because it's the decent thing to do. It's not a burden on me any more than I don't call John Wayne Marion. Why? Because he didn't want to be called Marion anymore. He decided he wanted to be called John Wayne. When Prince didn't have a name, we all called him the performer formerly known as Prince, which was a mouthful. Why? Because he cast aside his name Prince for legal reasons. He was in a legal battle over his very existence and his very identity. But we all hopped on that wagon and we treated him with respect. Why? Because it's a decent courtesy that we extend to everyone. My sister changed her name. I've been using her new name for so long, there are times I just kind of forget that she had the old name. My ex changed his name. I immediately started using it. Why? Because he's my friend and I love him. This isn't complex. This isn't difficult. It isn't a burden if somebody tells you that I would like to be called she. I don't care what the person looks like. I don't care what you think that title should be referring to. It's not being applied to you. You get to decide what your gender pronouns are. Isn't that awesome? And you get to decide how to present yourself to the world in your expression of your gender. Isn't that awesome? So why are people being TERFs? Why are they trying to shove the square peg into the round hole? Because it makes them more comfortable? And take my word for it, these folks are more than willing to take a knife out to shave that peg down until it fits in that hole. And they don't care how bloody that peg gets in the process. TERFs are dangerous. TERF, the whole framework involved behind that mental construct, is also part and parcel of white supremacy. Do a little digging there, folks. At the bottom, it's really damn ugly. And being a TERF is ugly. It is showing the world your deep character flaws and your inability to be a decent person. I don't know what Bette Midler's real name is. I don't know if she has a stage name. I've never researched it. I don't care. She calls herself Bette Midler. I call her Bette. It's that simple. If I were to meet her, I'd call her Miss Midler. Out of courtesy. I don't know her marital status. I don't know how she refers to herself in the world. And if she told me it's Ms., I'd start using Ms. without missing a damn heartbeat. Because I try to be a decent person. I try to be concerned about my fellow people, my fellow humans. That's a really low bar, folks. Okay? That bar is so low, it's lying on the floor. And yet somehow TERFs squeeze their bigoted asses under that bar every damn day. It doesn't take any effort to clear that bar. It doesn't take any effort to be a decent person. So, be a decent person. Treat people the way they want to be treated. Make sure everyone has access to abortions that wants an abortion. Who cares what gender they call themselves? Do they have a fetus in themselves at the moment that they don't want? Boom! They're eligible for an abortion, and they should have access to them when they're safe and legal. So yeah, I'm deeply sad that Bette Midler has now exposed herself as a TERF, as I am deeply disappointed that Rowling did it, and deeply disappointed that John Cleese did it. Whose, by the way, last name is in fact not Cleese, but we all call him that.